Hi, friends. This is Tuesday of the 6th week of Ordinary Time. It's actually the last day of Ordinary Time. It's Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Got my Mardi Gras beads. My pancakes are ready for dinner, ready for a celebration. Seems like an odd thing, right? Celebration, Mardi Gras, right before Lent, this very somber time. But Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday is practiced around the world. And I was thinking a lot about celebration and the start of Lent when I read today's readings. It talks about happiness and joy and maybe a reason for our celebration. The first reading is about Noah's Ark, and the people of Noah's time had forgotten about God's goodness, and there was a lot of evil things going on, and God sent a flood for 40 days and 40 nights, and the world was made anew. In the gospel, the disciples are traveling with Jesus and they forgot to bring food with them. They only have a little bit of bread. And Jesus is teaching them to be on guard against the yeast of the Pharisees. And all they can think about is their bread, the yeast of their bread, and not having enough. And Jesus reminds them, saying, "Are your hearts hardened? Don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves among 5,000 people? How much was left over? 12 baskets left over. Jesus fed 5,000 people with food left over. And don't they remember the abundance? Don't you remember the joy? What do you have to be worried about now?" He's basically saying, "Don't you trust me?" I think there's a message for us, right? Sometimes do we forget all of the good things that God has done for us? Do we have faith that God will always take care of us? Do we trust that He will? Today we celebrate that we do remember that God is taking care of us, that God's goodness, and that brings us joy and happiness. Tonight we can say a prayer of blessing and gratitude over our pancakes or our rice and beans or king cake or jambalaya or donuts or however you are celebrating. Tomorrow we'll begin the 40 days of Lent, and we'll deepen our spiritual lives through prayer and fasting and giving. And we can do it with this thought of all that God has done for us. We can do it with this joy in us, holy joy, I would call it. Then we can begin this season of introspection, of self-examination, of how do we live in the light of that joy. St. Philip Neri, who was known as the Happy Saint, said that a joyful heart is more easily made perfect than a downcast one. And maybe that's a great way to begin Lent. Part of our calling as Christians is to lead others to the Lord. Isn't it the joy that we want them to know? Yeah, I agree that Lent is a more somber time. It's a preparation time, but we can do it joyfully by always remembering everything that our faith has taught us. I think we can live remembering that Jesus showed us joy and abundance and happiness. And if we think about those 3 pillars of Lent, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, let's first of all think about prayer. Maybe we can pray for an open heart, open to the joy that's around us, open to the gifts that God gives us every single day, even in challenging and difficult times, right? There's always some amazing gift from God. And do we recognize that presence in our lives? Fasting. Maybe we could fast from pessimism or negativity or lack of hope. I think that kind of fast would really be life-changing and really be a real spurt for our faith lives, to show that our hearts are not hardened, that we are opened, and that we remember all that God has done for us. Almsgiving. How do we share joy? How do we help others understand this joy? How do we give so that others are joyful? And to remind them that God is all around us, God is present, God loves each one of us. This Lent, prayer, fasting, giving alms, doing penance with joy, with the light of Christ shining through us. That's what I'm going to try for this year anyway. I hope your Fat Tuesday one is a great one. I hope your 40 days of Lent are days of blessings, of new revelations, and of joy. Until I see you again, I wish you peace.